係大家睇唔睇到我個 screen？
睇到。
係好。So I'll be teaching everyone psychology behind website design and how to create a website that fits its purpose. So first impressions are formed very rapidly by people. According to psychologists at Princeton University in the United States, first impressions are formed within 1/10 of a second, just meeting someone or seeing something. So according to 3 studies by Human-Oriented Technology Lab at Carleton University, Canada, visitors rated a website's visual appeal in seconds, like 1/10 of a second, making their first impression even quicker than just a second. Users' initial impressions of a website can be significantly influenced by its core psychological concepts. When visiting a website, the decisions are initially made primarily on emotions and subconscious. And once you read the text, you will have an opinion on the website. All of these judgments are affected by the way in which you present your website. Visitors are influenced by website design when selecting whether or not to trust a website. Studies show that the layout, style, font, color, consistency, content, and updates and errors may change someone's perception towards the credibility and trust or their judgment towards the website. Here are 2 websites. One's of Amazon and the other is of an HTML website made by a student. So we can obviously see that we trust the Amazon website more because it looks safer. But what gives it the impression of safety? The use of colors can significantly impact how people view your website. You're choosing color schemes to support both your message and the picture you want to project. Let's look at some colors and how we perceive them psychologically. So red, it can mean a lot of different things. It might stand for danger, rage, or urgency. Because it's such a vibrant color, it conveys a sense of boldness, and it's often used to decimate promotions and emphasize price reductions such as sales. It stands out because it's very bright and bold. Orange is another color that is utilized to be eye-catching. So it's very energetic and happy. And it's often used in what we call a buy it now phrase, like when people put it up on the website. It's like a sales sign. Yellow is a very vibrant color and it's very useful and upbeat. It can freshen your website's appearance and draw attention to a targeted audience. Yellow's bad connotation is occasionally appeared as perceived as tricky, and the color green has a wide range of meanings. It's the easiest color for the eye to process, and it's often used in cosmetics to present a sense of nature. It stands for money and security, and blue is a very calm and cool color, frequently used to convey trust, solidity, or perhaps loyalty. It's used in banks and businesses to convey their trust and their knowledge. Purple is a color that reflects royalty or luxury. It's very calming, and is often related to wealth. It's used in retail and beauty, and mostly in anti-aging products. Pink is useful and very feminine, and is aimed at young women or mothers. It's often perceived as very feminine. And white is a color that's very neutral. It symbolizes holiness and cleanliness. Designers often use white space to improve their work and direct the viewer's attention. This color is ideal for e-commerce websites as it's very light and airy and also very welcoming. Black is typically utilized for upscale goods since it's very strong. It's a very strong and imposing color. But on the negative side, it may also appear as emotionless and may represent death. Grey is a color that might appear official and neutral. It's very conservative at the same time. It's used by websites to demonstrate their authority and superiority in their goods. It lacks warmth and is often used as a background color. Brown is a color that's very dependable. It's natural, stable, but can also cause controversy. Some people avoid this color because it very much depends on your opinion, while others may use it to make the website seem reliable and trustworthy. So we can choose colors to employ different types of design that we know. And now that we know what colors represent, we could play a little fun game. So here's all the colors I've just mentioned. So what color do you guys think is the most appropriate color if you were to write a teenage magazine? You can type in the chat. So yes, yellow is a very good color because it's very vibrant and optimistic. Other colors that can represent youth, which is what we're targeting because teenage children are very young, would be pink, purple, yellow, or orange. They're very fun and vibrant. So what color would you guys use for sails? So we're aiming for something very bold and eye-catching. Yeah, that's very good. Red is a great choice. Orange is also a great choice because they represent urgency and is often associated with sales and auctions. So color for a very minimalistic piece of technology, for example, smartwatch. So for a very minimalistic look, we would go for colors such as white or gray because they're very neutral and clinical. So of course, now that you know how to combine colors, you can also learn how to use it for very precisely use them. For example, change their shade, hue, or tone, as these will affect how they're seen. Another method of reassurance to the user is typography, which is also the font. The user experience of a visitor to your website can be impacted by something as simple as the font you employ. So Sarah fonts, I don't know if you can see, have a small line attached to the end of it. It's very traditional and professional. And an example of its use is for newspaper because it's very traditional. They're commonly referred to Roman fonts and is interpreted with representing history. Another type of font is called the sans serif font. So this doesn't have a small line attached to the end of it, as you can see. And they're commonly referred to as Gothic fonts, and they utilize a modern vibe. They're used in large technological businesses such as Apple or Google to appear as cutting-edge companies. Your website's visitors' opinion may also be impacted by the distance between the letters in your content, which is a letter spacing. The content may seem dense and overwhelming if there's insufficient room. Too much can make a material seem jumbled and very intimidating. So now we can type in the chat again to see what sort of font you would use for a newspaper site. Would you use a serif font or sans serif font? Yes, you would use a serif font because it's more traditional. For medical information, you would actually want to use a sans serif font because it appears more futuristic and makes people think it's more trustworthy. For teenage magazine, you would want to use a sans serif font because you want it to attract the younger generation, which is very useful and futuristic as well, and modern. So when a visitor first arrives at your website, the phrase "a picture's worth 1,000 words" truly come to life. Visitors to your website may benefit or suffer due to the photos you employ. A carefully picked image may reassure your visitor, reaffirm your principles, and make your objective apparent. Unsatisfied and perplexed visitors may want to leave your site if the image is not right. For instance, a group of business people shaking hands over a clipboard may imply professionalism and expertise, but casting characters may suggest youth. Any imagery on a page should always assist the message you want to convey. Doing otherwise creates a barrier between preventing your visitors from your objectives. So here we have 3 images, and for the cover of a boys magazine, you would obviously want it to be something a teenage boy is interested in. So what do you guys think it would be? You can unmute and speak. You don't really have to type in the chat. Yes, it would be the race car because it's one thing that's very trendy among young boys. And then an image promoting VR technology on their site. So it would be the young person playing with VR technology, an old grandpa using an iPhone, or just an old iPhone. Yes, it would be the first image because it conveys the objective. So here we have a website trying to sell a luxury car. So the first image is of a baby, the second one is of a Ferrari, and the third one is of a race car. So a Ferrari would probably be the best choice here. Let's take a look at the image on the left of the screen. This is a case study where James Breeze used an eye tracker to create an eye tracking heat map on a website, which is on the left. The red is a part of the image is where it's most looked at, in this case, the baby's face. Individuals naturally take note of other people and have a tendency to concentrate on their faces and eyes. And this is a wonderful way to get attention. Let's look at this image. Here, the baby's face is facing towards the word. And as I've said, people tend to look at the face, making a great way to lead and direct a person's sight to where you want them to. So we can see that the baby's face is highlighted red. So is the direction he's looking at and the words. So it's a great way to divert attention to the key elements of your page. Choice anxiety. A Danish philosopher originally discussed the idea of choice anxiety in 1844 in a piece titled The Concept of Anxiety. According to him, this choice causes uneasiness. The decision Adam had to make whether to eat a fruit from the tree of knowledge was identified as the source of the first worry ever felt by a human being. There was no choice to be made everything until Adam realized that eating the fruit from the tree was forbidden. This applies to the idea of decision fatigue, which describes how an individual's decision-making ability declines after a long period of decision-making. Your brain starts to make decisions unconsciously or perhaps consciously, whether the choices to stay in bed or get out of bed, have desire or not. The average human being is said to make over 35,000 decisions per day. This translates to one decision every 2.5 seconds. So this is true for your website as well. Too many options can cause your visitor to experience choice anxiety. The Psychological Bulletin, published in 2003 by a philosopher, Christopher Anderson, noticed this phenomenon, calling it decision avoidance. So if you give people too many choices, they'll just end up avoiding making any. So on your website, you want there to be a smooth experience with a clear purpose, and most importantly, very little choice. So to have people make less choices, you have to have a very important and clear purpose. So what do you think the primary purpose of reading a newspaper would be? So would it be to read the news story, watch a random dog video, or learn about cooking? Yes, it would be to read the news story. So the primary purpose of an online shop, would it be to leave a review, find the contact number, or buy the product? Yeah, it would be to add the product to your basket. The primary purpose of a homepage on a website, would it be to show you the contact information, direct people to the right place, or display news articles? It would be to direct people to the right place, yes. So the layout of your website is also very important. So here let's try to find the add to basket button. So the add to basket button is here, but the first thing you look at is probably the delivery info button. This is because it's firstly in green, so it's much more noticeable than the add to basket button. But when we look at this image, we can see that the add to basket button is much more obvious because it's highlighted in green and there's nothing else on the page. White space is used to direct the reader's attention and show the relationship between items, less cramming, more information. It's very direct and simple. By increasing the space between objects and lowering the space between them and other items on the page, the item can also be grouped together using white space. This is critical for illustrating the connections between objects. For instance, in the situation here, find the buy now button belonging to the product it's been grouped with. The usage of white space only refers to the space surrounding the page, regardless of the color. It helps you draw the attention of your viewers to the page's most crucial elements. If the objectives of your website page is overloaded or very messy, or there's too much content on one page, your visitor won't know where to begin, and there might be a chance of them doing nothing and simply leaving site. When gazing at evenly spaced information, the eye moves through a typical pattern as it is depicted in the Gutenberg diagram. So there are several ways of presenting content. The first way being the Gutenberg diagram. So this only applies to web pages with a lot of text, such as books and newspapers. The Gutenberg diagram says that the top left corner of the page is the strongest and the bottom left corner being the weakest for languages that read from left to right, such as English. As a result of the eye moving in a sequence of horizontal motions known as axes of orientation, as it moves across and down the page, each sweep begins further away from the left edge and processes even further towards the right edge. So we put the important information on the reading gravity path to make sure it's absorbed by the viewer. As a result of the eye moving horizontal motion, the axes, the strongest region is located on the top right and the weakest is located on bottom right for languages that read from left from the right to left, from left to right, sorry. Reading gravity refers to the general eye movement, which involves moving from the primary terminal areas. Important pieces of information, as I said, to be placed in the reading gravity part. For example, putting the call to action or contact information button near the bottom right, next to a picture or some key content. The Z pattern, as the name implies, resembles the letter Z. It follows starting from the top left corner to the top right corner, to bottom left corner to bottom right corner. So key elements to be placed in its path and it could be extended. And there's also a golden triangle pattern that it's not in the PowerPoint, but since it's a triangle and most crucial information is placed in the triangular region. So here's an example. So the most important information will be here, also here, and text could be here and here. So it follows the path of a Z. Just here. So to the Z. So the F pattern, the eye begins to move from the top left and moves horizontally to the top right, then returns to left edge and repeats. But each time the length of the sweep decreases and the most important information should be at the top. So in points 1, 2, 3, and 4. The F pattern has a drawback because people can easily lose attention to stuff that's at the bottom. So it's important to place all your important elements at the top. So here's an example. So here's point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4, point 5, and point 6. So they're the important stuff. So here's another image of it being using an eye tracker to detect eye movement on the page. So you can see that they follow the vague shape of an F. The focal point pattern relies on dominant elements and visual weights and cues, and it predicts where the user would focus on the page most imposing aspect first, demanding visual attention. The dominant element will be a starting point of the eye's journey and to additional design focus points. The sequence will be determined by relative importance and the focal location, as well as any visual clues at that point to where to look next. So what pattern is this? So we can see the answer already, but if we can just look at how it's placed. So point 1, point 2, point 3, and point 4. So it eventually leads you to sign up for this base camp. So psychological triggers. This is used to sway your visitors' behavior and what they do. So it's often referred to emotional or psychological trigger. The idea presumes that users will hear the message of persuasion. So reciprocation, the idea presumes that the user will feel grateful for a favor and wish to repay it. For instance, if someone gives you a present, you may feel obligated to return the favor later in time. This can be achieved on a website by providing a modest gift to the user, such as an example chapter of a book, a free newsletter, or just helpful information, knowing that they'll feel obliged to provide something in return. For example, making a purchase, recommending a friend, or leaving a comment could all be considered something in return as the website request. Commitment. The site, the user's self-centered self-image is the center of this persuasion strategy. People frequently assume that our action mirrors our views. When you adopt a position on something that other people can see, you suddenly feel compelled to defend or uphold it in order to come across as trustworthy. So it's more like building a self-image and putting stuff online. For example, posting a post or liking a post on social media, leading to someone buying their product. It's demonstrated in business when they request you to like a product on Facebook in order to access a video or a piece of material. You have still, even though it's just like, you've still expressed your public support to the product and will be more likely to do so in the future. Social proof. This is called the follow the herd principle. it's more about following a trend. So, for example, Amazon's what do customers buy after viewing this product list? So websites employ this mentality to display what other users are doing on their platform in an effort to persuade the visitors to copy. Authority. Authority is when the website appears credible and secure and builds a trust with you, therefore allowing you to buy or make purchases on the website or do what they want you to do. Secrecy is a principle based on notion that people are more likely to want something if they think it's available only for a limited time or if it's in short supply. This works on two levels, playing on both the fear of missing out and making products appear more valuable. Psychologists have conducted experiments that have shown that if you give people a jar of chocolate or biscuits or cookies, and tell them to rate which jar is more enjoyable, they find that the jar with less biscuits, for example, 2 biscuits, instead of a jar with 10 biscuits, they'll find that the jar with 2 biscuits is more enjoyable. An example of this on the website is that the urgency message on hotel rooms or flights. The message that's there that shows that there are only 4 rooms left may drive a price increase and make people want to buy more. The framing principle works on the assumption that people are unlikely to be able to estimate the absolute value of what they buy. It uses the Goldilocks effect. So there's always one item that's too overpriced and one that's too bad of a quality and one that sits just right. People would buy the option that sits just right. Salience. This relies on the colors and the interface. For example, buying a TV when promoting extended warranty, it uses colors. For example, a brightly colored button that's relevant to where they are at their task. So here we have a persuasion method and it's framing, because we have the basic, which doesn't seem as appealing, but then the unlimited pro, which is very overpriced, and the unlimited plus, that's sitting just right. Here we can see that secrecy is being used. I'll go back to the slide on reciprocation in a second. Here we can see that secrecy is being used because on the images we can see that they said someone just booked this. There are only 3 rooms left on our site and 7 people are looking at this now. So it makes it seem very special and it's unlimited offers, so forcing people to buy it. Reciprocation is here we get a bit for free, but you feel like you're going to have to repay the website somehow. So upon these concepts, we have to identify the targeted audience. So identifying your demographics. So are the people you're selling your website to young or old, or are they male or female, or what are their interests? Plan the site. This includes everything from laying out what's on your website to the colors, and design with caution. So make use of the fonts, colors, and images, and the psychological tricks we've just learned